Imam Fahim Shoaib. This evening will be co-hosted by Imam Abu Qadir Al-Amin, and we are blessed and fortunate today to have with us what we believe to be the most formidable leader on the national and international scene today, the leader of the American Muslim Mission membership, Imam Warith Mohammed. And so I say this time to both my co-hosts and my guests, peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. This program today we're going to be focusing on community concerns, the community concerns of the American Muslim Mission, and this is of course most useful to our viewers as well as those who have accepted to be members of that particular body as Muslims, the American Muslim Mission, to give everyone the focus as to who we are, where we're going, and what we hope to accomplish. What I'd like to ask you first, Brother Imam Mohammed, is what areas of focus should be given the most attention? If one had to select between the individual or the group, is there a balance that can be met in those two concerns, the individual or the group, or should the group be superior or the individual?
Yes. Circumstances would decide that. In a time when individual needs are ignored, then we would favor the individual.
Mm-hmm.
But at a time when community needs are ignored, we have to favor community.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, there should be a balance.
Mm-hmm.
The preferred situation would be when the individual and the community is getting proper attention.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least respect for their legitimate needs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the situation for us in our community right now require more attention to the community
mm-hmm.
than to the individual.
Okay.
I think the individual can best be motivated by us addressing the community needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you in speaking to you earlier, you stated the phraseology Islamic democracy, and you stated it almost in an inspired type of a way. It's like, this is what we're looking for. And in comparing Islamic democracy to democracy that most people understand to exist in America today, what is the comparison? What are the differences, and where are they alike?
Yes. First of all, Islamic democracy is religious based,
mm-hmm.
you see, and that is, our holy book has defined for us what freedom is,
mm-hmm.
Whereas the democracy, American democracy, is defined by the Constitution and the Constitution of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Our Constitution is a politically based idea,
mm-hmm.
but I find that there is a striking resemblance in much of the idea of democracy that we know as American, or America, and the Islamic democracy. I would like myself to have a situation in America where people would be able to themselves recognize the limits that are on them in terms of what they can do in society, you know. And I believe most of us want that, but when it comes to restricting the freedom of people in America's life and American society, we are not allowed to do that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to do is just depend on each other to work in the best interest of the society, mm-hmm. without addressing the problems with freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But I think inside our mosque, inside our own community,
mm-hmm.
We are obligated to address the concept of freedom, especially when we see the ideas being, I would say, contaminated, mm-hmm. or deformed,
mm-hmm.
in the minds of the members of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of permissiveness that has been allowed in society, not just America, in the world society, last 5 years or 10 years, has to be met by us if we are to keep a healthy idea of freedom in our community. So we have to address this from Islamic terminology, you see. And I think the Society of America will fare better if all of us in our private situations, like mosque, church, synagogue, business community, our institutions, cultural institutions, all these, I would say, points of situations for addressing the needs of society. When all of us address our particular private concerns in our own private quarters, then we serve America. We are serving America. That's what I think is serving America.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying, number one, that we could lose the true definition of real and natural freedom if we give ourselves over to the way that the mass media environment has defined freedom for us. And the way to correct that is to begin to hold the true idea of what freedom is and propagate that within our own homes, institutions, businesses, and what have you.
Exactly.
And that will preserve and that will bring it to the kind of democracy that we would like to see. Very good. Brother Imam, you have some questions?
Yes. Brother Imam Mohammed, we would like to welcome you to San Francisco, to the Bay Area. We are really pleased to have you here to work on some of the community concerns of the American Muslim Mission. In particular, the AMPAC seminar that's scheduled for here tomorrow. We would like to welcome you. We believe that the effort is one that's going to enhance our effectiveness in making a genuine contribution here in the society. You mentioned the idea of Islamic freedom, and I would like to speak regarding that. In Islamic terminology, it uses a term halal, which is, it talks about lawfulness, and the same word is talking about freedom. And could you share some ideas with us regarding that?
Yes. What governs the behavior of a believer, Muslim, a believer, I would say a believer, we're talking specifically about the religion, our community now, is the fear of God. The fear of God. As long as there is a fear of God in us, and that fear is not just being frightened by something, not the I would say the crude kind of fear that may come to the mind of our viewers, our listeners, but it's a cultured fear. It's a refined fear. As long as there's taqwa, fear of God, in the people, then that consciousness in the people restricts their activities and keep them conscious of limitations placed upon their activities.
Yes.
From there, we then go to the Word of God, the Quran, and we would desire that our community be a Quran reading community, an informed Islamic community, and to be informed, it has to read. The community has to be acquainted with the holy text, the Quran, and secondly, the second most highest authority would be the way that the Quran was lived by a human being. I've heard different imams, they've lectured on the Quran, how it is to be lived, how it is to be applied, and many of them have described it as a manual. Say, well, if you buy a new automobile, you would expect that manufacturer to give you a manual for operating that automobile, and the Quran has been described as a manual for our whole life, and but often when you buy a complicated machine, and no machine is more complicated than the human body itself, the human life itself, you also need a demonstrator.
Yes, sir.
Someone to demonstrate the operation
That's
to you
right.
because you're new at it. This is new on it, all this. So you need the Prophet Muhammad as a model. He's a model type, model. So we need to know also how Prophet Muhammad lived this religion, because some people may read one verse and be sent straight up into the sky, and not know how to live it. You see, they might be sent straight up to the sky because some verses are so beautiful in poetic beauty and so beautiful in spiritual appeal that just take the average person who's looking for spiritual, I would say, spiritual relief. It'll take him out of the world, you know. So we need Prophet Muhammad as a model before us always, so we'll know that this religion is to be lived on earth in a human community, you know. Now, I believe that when we keep respect for God, then we're safe. We're safe. All of our relationships are protected by that respect. I'm speaking as a religious man.
Yes.
You know, I believe that that's the way to protect my relationship with my wife, with my mother, with my children, or with my friends, my associates on the job. I believe the best protection for all relationships is to keep sacred before me my relationship with God. You see, that's the taqwa. The fear of losing that relationship or spoiling that relationship with God is taqwa, or fear of God, or God consciousness, whatever they might term it. Now, I don't think that anything else can be accomplished for a true believer in God without that. That first he has to have taqwa, and then he should seek to improve his knowledge, because just to be protected against reckless behavior or improper behavior is not enough. I have to be guided into right behavior. You see, so the Quran is such a great source of knowledge. It will give us principles that to live by, whether we are professional person, business person, or a student in school, still in school, or a child at home. The Quran gives us principles to live by, and without that, we can't go very far. I hope that we'll have taqwa. I hope that we'll get acquainted with our holy books, so we'll know how our religion directs life. And then I hope that we will take advantage of opportunities in our community and in society to prosper, to become productive. And to me, that's freedom. To me, that's freedom.
Yes. Okay.
The American Muslim Mission Political Awareness Convention, you've described how the Holy Quran, it covers all of our ways of life, our academic, our political, our business, and otherwise. In context of the political awareness seminars and conventions that are now going on throughout the nation, what is the basis from that Quranic point of view that serves as a springboard for this particular event? It's given that it is not purely political; it has this religious basis. What is the reasoning behind that effort?
Yes, conditions force us to make certain decisions. You know. The Quran, whether the Quran has motivated a particular interest or excited a particular interest, is not the concern, you know. But if are Muslims, what is going to govern the interest? What is going to govern the interest? So that's the concern. That's the Islamic concern. What is going to govern that interest? I think conditions have brought about these new programs. I would say a re-entry into certain activities, you know, like collective buying, pooling our small earnings and resources to try to do something collectively, or coming together to address political issues, the political climate for African Americans and for the country. These new kind of interests that are being addressed now by the members of the community under AMCOP and AMPAC are, in my opinion, formed because of conditions, environmental conditions, human conditions. But as Muslims, once our conscience begin to deal with a problem, then we have to be sure that we are dealing with it Islamically, you see. So then we look for Islamic direction. What is the Islamic direction? If we have to tackle this problem, what is this? What does our Quran, what does Allah say about this in the Quran? How would Prophet Mohammed, peace be upon him, how would he deal with this situation? So right away, when we recognize a call to duty, we have to go back and say, hey, wait a minute, let me see what God says about it, you know. Let me see what my religion says about it. So I think the efforts are proceeding, the efforts are gaining support and proceeding because we are Muslims. That's my feeling.
Okay.
Because we are Muslims. Because we, when we look at the needs, we say, oh yes, well here's our needs. What does the Quran say about it? Well, the Quran stresses man involvement in community. You know, that man has to see himself as a member of the community, and man has to take up the responsibility for the community life. He has to accept responsibility for the course or the direction of his community, you know. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he has said the blessing for family is in sharing the meal. There's more blessing in sharing the meal, eating with others, than eating by yourself. So Prophet Muhammad has encouraged us to work with each other and to live with each other and to enjoy life with each other, that this is more rewarding than doing it alone. So this emphasis on community, when we see it in Islam, the average Muslim, whether he can readily grasp or readily connect these ideas or not, doesn't stop him from knowing that this is something that I should give my support to. So right away, he said, oh yes, I'm for this. How can I join? How can I join AMCOP? How can I join AMPAC? How can I get involved in the collective blind program? What can I do to help the political seminars? His spirit is ready for it because he had heard the word of God, and though he can't recall it as quickly as an imam or somebody else, maybe many of them can. Yes. But you know, some of them can. He still registers just as quickly that this is an Islamic concern as well as a people, our community concern. This is essentially an Islamic concern.
It brings to mind your response to that. It's like we're first natural. I mean, your circumstance will dictate certain things, whether you read it in the book or not. So you're going to have to deal with the situation. But before you move too far or gain a momentum or get into an inertia, I've heard you use the term before, make sure that your movement is approved. While you deal with this concern, make sure it's approved, or it goes in the manner that's approved by the religious guidelines. Yeah. Thank you very much, Brother Imam.
Yeah. On the idea of economic concerns for the community, the annual Big Buy, and the accomplishments that the American Muslim Mission have made in terms of collective bargaining power. Could you give us some ideas on how this progresses and how we can be a model for other communities as we were in the past through our accomplishments?
Yes. You know, at a time when there are so many influences, society now perhaps is more burdened than it ever has been since man been on this earth, maybe. goods here, more wealth than perhaps ever been here too. But at the same time, there is more pressure on the individual, more spiritual pressure on the individual. So we have great advancement, great achievements as people of this modern age. Civilizations have made astounding strides, and really there's great wealth too, especially in America. But there's so much hunger, so much poverty, so much distress and almost hopelessness in so many people. Why? Why? It is because people are not supervised as much now as they used to be supervised. And the reason why they're not supervised as much is because of this burden. The burden is tremendous on the individual. To a spiritual burden, I mean, you know, to just carry the responsibilities and get up and do things. And, you know, man used to have time for reflection. When this world wasn't so crowded and wasn't moving so bad, man had time for reflection. Now the person have no time for reflection. He's just gone. Get up in the morning and go, you know. And, and if you expect to keep the bills paid, you got to run until the end of the day.
That's
you know.
Right.
So because of that, everybody is just overburdened and don't have time for supervision to supervise their own life as it should be, or to supervise those that they are over, their dependents, their children, etc. I think pleasure needs need to be studied. And somehow, as a Muslim community, we need to address the pleasure needs in the life of the individual, and not try to force people to go in that door, but see what their pleasure needs are, and make available to them the great number of choices that God allows us for fulfilling our pleasure. You know, the greatest pleasure is to please God. The greatest pleasure is to please God. But how are we to please God? The only way to please God is by performing in the world. You see? So when we find a way for everybody to perform, to fulfill their pleasure needs, and at least keep before them the options, the choices that you can make to fulfill your pleasure, then we'll get production, we'll get more production. And I think the seminars that we're having will focus in on that, you know. To hear people, because of changing circumstances now, they don't know where they are, they don't know where they should go, they don't see any opportunity to move forward. So it's the duty of those who have opportunity to bring these opportunities to the attention of those who are hopeless, or those who just don't have vision. Bring these opportunities to them. For these seminars and the political awareness address will focus in on opportunities that are still here. There are many opportunities still here. We have people in the community who have almost just given up. Say, well, no jobs. But we find that people are always coming in, replacing us. And they find a job. They make a job where we thought there was no job. They make a job, you know. So if we can just, those who see opportunity can just bring these opportunities to attention of others, then I think we will have some progress. And I hope that the political awareness meeting and address, and the seminars, and also AMCOP seminars, will try to reach as many people as possible in the community of the poor, where people are without vision now because of heavy burden on life, heavy burden on the spiritual life of the people. And I think what we will have as a result is more support for collective effort, economic programs, collective buying, and political awareness seminars that are designed to bring information to people who otherwise would be overlooked or missed. People who are not motivated, or people who've given up on society, you know. Like I imagine that there are among us some people that we have failed, you know. Yes, because we fail people too.
Yes.
You know,
When you say us,
I mean Muslims.
Muslims. Okay. Muslims.
We try to do our best, but I'm sure that among us are people that we have missed too.
Yes.
And once you disappoint people or they lose faith in you, there ain't much you can do for them. You know, until that faith is regenerated some kind of way, revived some kind of way. I would hope that Muslims who lost faith in us will find an opportunity, whether it's among a Christian or others, you know. I hope they will find an opportunity. There are many Christians who've lost faith.
Yes.
And I would hope that they'll find an opportunity, whether it's among the Muslims or Buddhists or somebody else. I hope they'll find an opportunity. So that's what we want to do, just bring opportunity. And there are a lot of opportunities. Time is not as bad as we think.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You had pointed out in an earlier political awareness conference about how we still bear the scars or the psychology of our experience, speaking specifically of Afro-American people, of slavery, and you're saying worse than that, we still bear the sensitivity, and as a consequence we approach psychological problems as though they were concrete facts. Right. So a lot of our problem, would you say, is it's just a simple psychological blindness. You know, kind of we can't see the opportunities that are there. You've described this in detail since we've been here about how we're so burdened that we can't see things that are around it, and the hope is to just simply relieve the burden long enough for us to lift our heads up and see the opportunities.
Yeah, they need something new, you know. If I have given up on something that I've been doing, something I've been working at for 20 years, and if I've given up on that, then, you know, maybe you can come and look at my situation and convince me that I need to take that back up. You know, say, well, look here, man, I think you haven't done justice to this. There's still opportunity here that maybe you can convince me. But if I can't be convinced that I can make progress by the old methods and with the old situation, then I need something new. And that's what we're about. We about pointing people to new opportunities. There are a lot of new opportunities. There's a lot of new opportunities to succeed in life.
Yes.
And I hope that what we will achieve as a community is productive lives for our members and for people. You know, to share that with others. Productive lives, because, you know, and here's another important thing. Ownership. And a lot of people don't understand. And the reason why you are not motivated, the reason why you are not aggressive, is because you have no sense of ownership. You know, most of the people, they don't have a sense of ownership. They don't think they own anything. Well, let's start with my own self.
Yes.
This is in my possession.
That's right. Yes.
Right.
Get out and do something for it. Make it productive.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Certainly, that's excellent.
That's a very good point.
Okay, we've been having a very lively and informative discussion with our special guest, Imam Warathuddin Mohammed. We'd like to thank all of you for joining us this afternoon, and my co-host, Imam Abul Qadir Al-Amin. And we hope that you will join us again on our next program of the American Muslim Journal. I'm your host, Fahim Shuaib, saying to you, peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum.
Peace be unto you. We would like to welcome you to the American Muslim Journal. We have our special guest this evening, Imam Warathuddin Mohammed, leader of the American Muslim membership. We would like to welcome him to the San Francisco area. And we have co-hosting this evening, Imam Fahim Shuaib of Masjid Mohammed Oakland, and myself, Imam Abu Qadir Al-Amin of the American Muslim Center in San Francisco. This evening we would like to discuss current events in the media, and we would like to question Imam Mohammed regarding recent events that have been reported regarding hijackings, and these actions have been attributed to Muslims. And we would like for Imam Mohammed to share his view regarding this. Specifically, what we would like to try to point out is how at times the media attributes actions to a whole community, which is actually individual actions. And
Yes.
we believe that we have done an injustice, say a person, because a person is of Arab descent or of a Muslim faith, that they attribute these type of actions to the religion. And could you share your concerns with us and views on that?
Yes, we would hope that persons in the media, and I in Chicago, I feel that our media, television and network, the major networks, do a very good job in reporting news in a way not to do injury, uncalled for injury to other interests or other concerns, religion, religious community, etc. But sometimes the way the information is given does a lot of harm. It's a disservice, unintentionally or intentionally, I don't know. I think it's maybe perhaps a lot of times it's unintentional.
Yeah.
We would hope that that wouldn't happen, but anytime you have people who are doing things as hijacking, and their name is the name like Kamal Raji or something, you know.
Yeah.
Those people who are familiar with Islamic names right away, it's a Muslim, you know. And then if they say, well, Arab terrorist, right away they think it's a Muslim there. We have people in our membership, that is the Islamic community, world community membership, who are no different from people in Christianity.
Yeah.
You know, you have people over here, they say they're Christians, but the average one of us wouldn't go to them for Christian instruction, would we?
No, sir.
Okay, same thing in the Muslim land. You have many people who say they're Muslims, but who would go to them for Islamic instructions? Many of them don't know anything about their religion.
Yes.
But simply because they're born in Islamic society and their parents were Muslims, they've just been called Muslims, and so they say Assalamu alaikum, and they ask them who is God, they say Allah is God, and one God, you know. And who is the prophet? They say, oh, Muhammad, peace be upon him, Muhammad is the prophet. But as far as knowing how to live his religion properly, he may not.
Yeah.
And I think we should understand that. And persons who are exposed to reporting of hijacking and terrorist acts done by people of the Islamic nations of the Muslim world should be aware that those persons are no more representative of Islam than the many criminals that's locked up in jail and on death row, and many of them that are sticking us up and snatching the purses from our mothers and old people and preying upon us in the street. We can't say they're responsible Christians. They're not representative of Christianity. They don't represent Christianity. So we have to be aware of that the world is full of all kind of people. And no matter what your religion is, you always have persons who won't be in touch with it and won't be as devoted to it as others. And many of them will care less for it. There are many people who call themselves Arabs. They care nothing. They don't care anything at all about the religion, you know. The circumstances of their life have given them to materialism, or have given them to struggling with a political ideology that won't permit them to see their Islamic responsibility. We have many people in the Islamic world now who are capitalists, and we have many more who are socialists, and many of them are communists. You know, we have many atheists in the Islamic world, and they will have Arab names. They will sound their names be Islamic sounding names, but that doesn't mean that they'll be Muslims. We have to understand too that Islamic lands have been occupied for generations by foreign cultures, foreign nations and foreign cultures, and the Islamic world community, Egypt, Sudan, all of these countries of Africa, Asia, Pakistan, for example, that was a country born in 1947. Born in 1947. The people that made up that citizenry were under British rule.
That's right.
Under British rule. So really, what I see in a lot of the behavior that we deplore, terrorist acts, hijacking, doesn't suggest to me at all that this is a Muslim. It suggests to me that this is other than a Muslim. You know. So I would say that much of this that's going on is going on because those people are left without guidance, and they're following ideologies that don't require that they be responsible human beings in a human world.
And speaking about distresses of that kind, because sometimes people do hijack out of distress. They just simply don't know how to deal with the situation, but by force in that sense. What strikes me is interesting is that the starvation that we're hearing more about in Ethiopia and other places. I've seen the names of the areas that are supposed to be taking place in, and you get names like Mali and Somalia and the Ghana area, and it reflects back to me that this was a place where we used to be the great kings and rulers and powers and what have you. You know, the dynastic type situation for African people. What's your views of this situation that exists there in terms of the kinds of plight that we're hearing about in terms of starvation and what have you? Can you think of anything historically that might contribute to that, or is it just, you know, a happenstance?
Yes, history, I'm sure history plays a great role in it. Again, we're talking about African nations that have recently come into independence. Before they were under foreign domination for centuries, for generations and centuries. Some of them have been under foreign domination. So we're talking about nations that have just recently come into responsibility or into control, and certainly what circumstances that they've had to live with for all those generations have some impact or some design on their behavior right now. You know, I read a column in the paper, I can't recall the magazine right now. The writer was saying that there's a lot of imported values in the so-called independent third world nations. And the problem is that they identify with their own local culture and traditional life, but don't see the conflict in terms of values. Here they're identifying as a Muslim or identifying as a member of this tribal culture, but they can't see the conflict of values. They can't see that they have been excited by a lifestyle that has passed away. The colonial plush, you know, the
pomp and circumstance is termed like,
you know, how they spreaded their wealth and spreaded their fancy ostentatious garments and royalty. And the third world people have been hungering for authority and possession of power, and they're not aware that a lot of that hunger is wrong. They've been hungering for the role, for the power and the role of those people who oppress them. So when they come into power, then they have a tendency to live extravagantly, to require too much for themselves. So a lot of the starvation that we find in Africa, in my opinion, is due to, I would say, false appetites, appetites that are not consistent with the life of the people, the traditions of the people, and the reality that they are facing over there. So you can go to a lot of these countries where there's great starvation, and you'll find people living extravagantly.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Too much. Got too much. So what is wrong? Is that your traditional beliefs have dictated that? No, I don't think so. I think for most of them, they are trying to do the same thing that many African Americans are doing over here in this country.
Yeah, I was about to say.
We have great dreams.
Parallel between.
Yeah, we have great dreams of being Miss Sadie, you know, being the white woman that has so much money and she just throws it away on herself and her children, you know. Too much money to think about, you know. Or the white man who has great wealth and he just can spend and spend and spend. So we dream of coming into the comfortable places and roles that white people have been in that were denied us, you know, opportunities that were blocked for us. And many of us don't know that we are motivated just to get what we have seen in white society. So when we get the opportunity, then we're not in touch with reality, and we're living a fantasy. You see, instead of living reality. And I believe that's what's happening in many of the third world countries. People are trying to enjoy the conveniences and resources and opportunities of colonial days life and rule when it was in style to show off wealth. For example, some of these weddings that we hear about in poor countries. Look at the amount of wealth that is wasted.
Millions of dollars.
On, wasted just on a wedding. People are starving and all that money wasted on a wedding for a little king, a little small man, right? See, that's the big problem, I think. Not to say that this is not a real problem. Drought in Africa is a real problem. The situation in Ethiopia is a real problem, no doubt about it. It's a real problem. But what I'm saying is that we need to look at the full circumstance now. And not just look at the trouble spots or needs isolated from history and isolated from what has developed, what has been created there. We need to look at the whole circumstance. And I think we should, if we can, be willing to sacrifice ourselves, because we are influenced too by these colonial appetites. Yes, it has come down to us. We have had a lot of that imported into our life. So we have to fight that tendency in ourselves too, and learn to feel the suffering of people all over the world. And I think it would help the American circumstances, American poor circumstances, if we would, in our own time of need, would say the need in Africa, the need in Ethiopia is greater than the need in Chicago South Side. And let us get together and collect a contribution and donate something to relieve the misery of those people in Ethiopia. But we need charity, don't you think?
Most certainly.
Yes, the poor want to improve their circumstance, then get a heart for those who are in worse condition than you are in, you see. And I think God will love that in us and will help us.
Do we have time for another question or so?
Yes, I wanted to ask another question regarding the emphasis that's being placed on the problems in South Africa now. There's renewed interest in that particular area, and I'm relating it to what's going on within the African American community particularly. There are many pressing kind of problems from Washington, D.C. all the way out here to California, and for all of our so-called leaders to be giving their attention to what's going on in South Africa without addressing the real concerns of the African American community in terms of our economic situation, our economic and cultural problems that are confronting us daily. Is that a manipulation, or what are your views on that?
Well, you know, if we don't stay alert and don't try to do something ourselves to better our own situation, then we're in trouble. We invite people to come in and undermine us, take advantage of us, exploit our weaknesses, etc. Yeah. Now, what I see is this: the administration, present administration, is not a socialist administration. It does not promote the same kind of social programs and social services that the Democrats were promoting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's an administration that's committed to serve the welfare of this country and the people of this country. So they're not given as much, but I don't think we should give up hope or should think that the situation is frightening. Right. No, the Republicans, they're going to do good. They're going to do their job. They're going to carry out their responsibility. Yeah. Bishop Tutu from Africa, he said, and I heard in the news that he called the president policies inhuman. But the president is accepting him. He's on a visit. He's going to meet with the president if he hasn't already.
He has already.
Yes, he has already.
Yes.
Yes, I know he was due to meet the president. So the president is giving him an audience, you see.
Yes.
So a lot of things that are said may cause us to misjudge. He called the president's policies inhuman, but the one responsible for those inhuman policies gave him an audience. And under the president, our President Reagan, great shipments of relief food that was on the way to India was directed to go to Africa because of the need being more serious there in Ethiopia than in India. So we got to look at everything that's happening, not just something. We got to look at everything and try to be fair in our judgment. You know, I try to be fair in my judgment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. In light of that, the President Reagan landslide, and you know, what does that say to you about the mood and the attitude or the personality of the country to elect Ronald Reagan again?
Well, I'll sound like a Republican if I give you an answer.
It doesn't bother me.
Well, people just fed up with a lot of talk and no work. You know,
that's right.
A lot of promises, a lot of talk and no work. They fed up with big talk and nothing happening, you know. We know the country wasn't faring well at all under the last administration of the Democrats, you know. And I believe the Democrats are very sincere, the great majority of them. But situations has developed in the world, in the national world, economic situations, and also moral situations have developed in the international world that affect us just as our developments here affect the international world. And the things that worked well before, you know, if you give money to an irresponsible child, you're feeding the problems of that child, right?
That's right.
But if you give money to a responsible child, then you're helping that child. Okay. Well, America took too much for granted. Our society came to take too much for granted, and on the whole, the common citizens and even many of the rich and many of the children of the Ivy League or a person from the Ivy Tower. They fell to the same low level of human responsibility, of human consciousness, where they just take things for granted.
That's right.
And we needed somebody. We needed a strong administration. We needed a man of strong principle and a man with confidence in his direction, such as the president we have now, to bring us back to a sense of responsibility. A sense of responsibility, and a sense of, I would say, recognition of the needs of other people more than yourself. And I think what the times demand is that we don't give up on being the greatest society, the most affluent society, that we don't give up on having abundance, but that we, as they say, defer the pleasure until we discipline ourselves and become ourselves more responsible again and more productive. The world is crying for productive citizens. The first thing you need is people who are willing to share with others and can sense the needs of other people in their same situation or in worse situations. That's what the world needs. Without that, the world is going to come to a halt. It's going to grind down to 1-0, you know. So I don't mean to sound like a Republican, because I don't think I know enough about the Republicans to become one.
I'd say this. I was reading the article, I believe it was Wall Street Journal, where they were talking about how the old labels of straight Democrat or Republican don't apply anymore, and that people are deciding Republican on some issues, and then they're deciding Democratic on other issues.
That's right.
So it's like they're beginning to be a different mix. You know, they use terms like populists and libertarians and others. They're trying to find new labels, but things are no longer as cut and dry. As you said, the situation has changed so much where these old political labels, you know, in agreement with what you're saying, they just don't apply in the same way anymore. And you know, and I can certainly appreciate that about the American Muslim Mission. You know, finding that balance and you know, dealing with the interests with a world, a universal view. That's really good.
Yes, we appreciate your comments, Brother Imam Mohammed. They've been very enlightening. We look forward to having you on the program again in the future. We would like to mention the ongoing activities of the American Muslim Mission, the AMCOP and AMPAC seminars. We hope that our viewers will join with us in the future. We'll have ongoing activities where we'll be working with these concerns.
There's a great need for community models, you know, for the poor.
Yes, sir.
The rich always have community models. We have great need for community models in the poor community. Many of the whites, you know, they have what they call planned schools, and they have great ideas, innovative ideas about educating, re-educating, and educating their children. The poor need that too. And that's what our history is. Our history is an effort to establish a model community for the poor. And maybe next time we can discuss plans for Sedalia, North Carolina.
Yes, and we would love to. Okay, we have 2 minutes left.